This episode is brought to you by our friends at Bloomerang. Looking to deepen donor relationships and maximize fundraising impact? On a journey to align purpose with profit, you need the right tools. Discover Bloomerang, the complete donor, volunteer, and fundraising management solution. Rated as the industry's friendliest, Bloomerang helps nonprofits deliver a better giving experience and create sustainable, thriving organizations. This intuitive platform tracks engagement and provides powerful insights so you can focus on driving your mission forward. Join the thousands of small and mid-sized nonprofits who are already thriving with Bloomerang. Visit bloomerang.co to elevate your fundraising today. Welcome to the Purpose and Profit Club podcast for nonprofit leaders, mission-driven creatives, and social entrepreneurs. Get ready to stop dreaming and start doing. Here, ideas become action. We prioritize purpose and profit. You ready? Let's go. Welcome to the podcast, Zach Watson. I am so excited. So the Kyle Pease Foundation, you don't know, but has been on my radar for many, many years. I've been on your email list for many years, and I've been watching what you've been doing. And then, as we were just saying in the green room, I had a neighbor become one of your peer fundraisers. So you guys have been on my radar, and then we're at a plywood event, and I'm like, you got to come on the podcast. So we're going to dig into the work you do. But let's start with, tell us about us, tell us about you, and tell us about the work you do at the Kyle Pease Foundation.
Perfect. Christina, thank you for having me. This is an honor. This is probably one of the first few podcasts I've been on, so it's nice to kind of change up a little bit for me. I'm more behind the scenes guy, so being on the camera is a little bit different for me. But it's been nice, so thank you for having me. My name is Zach Watson, operations manager for the Kyle Pease Foundation here in Atlanta, Georgia. The foundation was started in 2011 to improve the lives of individuals with disabilities through sports, with a focus in endurance sports, from a 5K all the way up to an Ironman Triathlon. So we got to do a wider range of events. And so we provide these opportunities for these athletes and these families to come and participate, not only just in a race, but it gives them opportunities to create community, to find new friends. For a lot of our individuals and families, they come from all over Metro Atlanta. We have a big faction in Douglas County, just outside of Metro Atlanta, and then a very big inner city community as well that we've built, as well as we've continued to grow from 2011 on.
Yeah, and we were just talking about how you said across 14 different states, over 120 individuals served. So you really have gone national at this point, more beyond just at the city of Atlanta. Yeah.
And just like Brent and Kyle's book, it's also called Beyond the Finish. So that's where we've kind of grown, is trying to do more stuff than just the event itself. It's creating that bond and that community from the volunteers and our ambassador team program that we have with some of our major, bigger volunteers, to our athlete program, and just kind of continue to grow that as well.
So we're going to dig into ambassadors, but before we do, I want to talk just a bit about Brent and Kyle. Tell me about them. And for our listeners who don't know, tell us, there's a magic between the two of them. So tell us about that.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see. We actually did a ride with them yesterday as they're training for the Ironman World Championships in October. We did about a 3-hour ride with them yesterday, and I was doing some filming and some kind of trailing behind them up in North Georgia and Cartersville area. So their dynamic is very interesting. They're brothers. They're about 3 to 4 year age difference. Brent's older than Kyle. And so that's an interesting dynamic to kind of see it as just brothers, but also to see it as coworkers and executive director to the Chief Inspirational Officer, as Kyle's tag and job title is here with the Kyle Pease Foundation. But the relationship's really fun to see sometimes, where it's like they're just jabbing each other in the office sometimes, like typical brothers do. And then sometimes it's like, all right, well, we can work together. And it's really cool to see them. I have not, since I've been here, and that would have been March of 2022. So a little over 2.5 years now. That have been with the Kyle Pease Foundation. There's only a handful of events I've seen them actually do together. As we've grown, the amount of events that they get an opportunity to do is not as much, just with timing and things like that. And being the executive director, Brent's all over the place trying to create opportunities for everybody. And Kyle's doing speaking engagements. That's kind of more of what they do together, is more on the speaking engagement side and not as much the events. This year's a little bit different with them doing Kona and going back to Hawaii for the World Championship. So we've had a lot of more training events and actual smaller running events. They did the Publix half back in February together. So that was the first time they've done Publix in probably close to 5-6 years, just because Kyle's had a good relationship with a handful of people that like to run with him for that event. So they've kind of made that switch off in that trade. But it's been really, really cool to see. I would say Brent as a boss has probably been one of the best coworker boss situations, because we are such a small team and we have to work together on a lot of different projects. And so seeing that and us working together has been really, really neat. And then just a relationship with me and Kyle has been great, because we spend a lot of time together, whether it's me picking him up for MARTA or we take MARTA downtown. There's sometimes he likes to be, hey, let's go get lunch downtown and we'll just ride MARTA. So like, he likes to show me like what MARTA's like. For those that are not local to MARTA, MARTA's the public transit station system here in Atlanta. That's really popular for missing the blowing up of the Georgia Dome not too long ago.
Parking in front of it. That's right. Yep.
It was a great story. And Kyle likes to always talk about that one, because he was like, yeah, I should have been on that bus that day.
Yeah.
But yeah, amazing. So it's been great working with them.
So what prompted this conversation and why you are on my radar was just seeing your ambassador program, seeing your peer-to-peer fundraising program. It seems like it is rocking and rolling, and you've really created a name for yourself in these different tournament. What's the right word? Tournaments. That's not the right word. What's the word? Events. Yeah.
Different events, fundraising events is how we've coined them. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about that. So tell us about what they are, how they're different, and they've really taken a lot of momentum and popularity.
A lot of these events, specifically like the Publix Atlanta Half Marathon, is our quote unquote marquee event that we do every year. That fundraiser, between individuals fundraising and major donations and sponsorships that come in through that, this past year we raised close to $180,000 for that event just in itself. Which helps fund a lot of different other opportunities. It funds our local events and covering a lot of costs there, because we don't ask for anybody to fundraise for a local 5K. Comparatively, most of our fundraising events are your larger, longer distance events. Like I said, the Publix Atlanta Half Marathon, the Peachtree Road Race here in Atlanta, which is huge for those that are listening. That's the largest 10K in the world.
It is. The Peachtree Road Race is. You just can't be an Atlantan without knowing about this road race. So what is your involvement? Because this road race exists. So tell us how the involvement of that.
Yeah. So a lot of it has come through our really big partnership with the Atlanta Track Club. They have been very inclusive since prior to COVID, when a lot of inclusion conversations and a lot of things coming up right around 2018, 2019. And as things were continuing to grow, that partnership before I got here had already been strengthened, but we're continuing to grow that connection with the Atlanta Track Club. Like I said, with their major longer distance events, the halves, the Peachtree Road Race, we do a handful, probably 3 to 5 events a year with the Track Club that they are more than welcoming and accommodating for us. So we're really appreciative of the partnership and collaboration that we have with them. So back to the other events we do, the Marine Corps Marathon in Washington, D.C., that's a major fundraiser in the fall we try to do. So with a lot of these fundraising events, we try to make it a community between the volunteer fundraiser or teammate, as what we've coined them here recently, because it is a team atmosphere. We want to make sure everybody feels included, not just the athlete, but the teammate and the volunteer that's spending their time and their hard-earned money to come and participate and get that athlete across the finish line, because that's a part of it too. So everybody needs to feel part of the community. And so
say more about that. So there's the athlete who you're saying is physically running. Yeah. And
so the athlete would be quote unquote the in chair athlete.
Oh, got it. Okay.
The individual in the chair, and then our teammates are the ones that are pushing them. Formally, pushes this volunteer. So we've tried to change the terminology to make it a little more inclusive, so that way that everybody feels kind of part of the team and feel like 100%. They're doing the work.
I read a little bit from one of your fundraising pages. So you told your story a little bit there, but how has your just own lived experience changed now being involved with this organization of understanding the importance of inclusivity, understanding disability? Probably you didn't know what you didn't know unless, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So tell us a bit.
you're so immersed into your own life, you don't pay attention to certain things. Like now, as often I'm out and about now, I'm more cognizant of what a wheelchair ramp is on a sidewalk and how the cutout is comparative to I did 5 years ago. I didn't pay attention to that stuff because I wasn't around it, didn't think about it. It wasn't within my immediate community. But now that's one thing that I pay attention to constantly when I'm out walking or running around. It's like, hey, like that's not right. Like that needs to be fixed. Or hey, like that somebody can get hurt that way. Like things like that I'm more cognizant of and paying attention to just in my daily, everyday kind of going out and about. Um, but yeah, so my story is a little bit different. I was in the process of looking for a new job. I had come to Atlanta, had been in a role for about 6 to 8 months, and was just looking for a change. And kind of just found the opportunity online and was interviewing with Brent and Kyle, and they were saying, "Hey, come to Publix, come to Publix, come to Publix." But they didn't tell me what the distance was. They just said Publix. They were like, "Hey, we need you down there at 5 a.m. in Centennial Park at this Sunday morning." I was like, "All right, I'll be there. I'll come help out, whatever you need me to do. Like, I'm happy to help." So it's 40 degrees and raining, miserable Sunday morning in February. I'm in a rain suit and I have to go to my other job once I get done with this. So I have a polo and khaki shorts on and tennis shoes underneath. So I'm standing around, and we had some volunteers from Children's Healthcare of Atlanta either get sick or not show up that morning. I forget what actually happened. And so they asked me, "Hey, can you run?" And I go, "Yeah, I guess so." I'm thinking, all right, maybe this is like what, a 10K? Like I can figure that out. And so I get to the start line in the start corral with all of our teams. There's a group of 4 girls from Children's Healthcare that are standing next to me in rain suits and everything. And they go, and I look to my left and I go, "Hey, how long is this race by chance?" And they go, "Oh, it's a half marathon." And I go, "Yep, I'm going to need some help." So I start like walking around. I was like, "Hey, can you split off somebody? Can you help me out?" Luckily, a guy that was supposed to be pushing this kid showed up like 5 minutes before the start. So it's me and this guy named Javier. We get through the start line. We're moving really fast, way too fast than I needed to be because I had not been running or training, had never run that far in my life. And so we get to about mile 4 or 5. I start slowing down. We need to walk, run, walk, run. We get to mile 7, going right on I guess that's the northern part, going to Piedmont Park on the backside over there to come run through the park at that part of the course. They've changed a little bit this past year. But we get to there. I was like, "Hey, man, like I need to walk for a good while. So you keep pushing. Like if I catch you, I catch you. If not, I'll see you at the finish line. Just get him across the finish line. That's all that matters at the end of the day." And so we made it through. And I looked like I had sea legs when I walked back to the staging tent, and Brent's looking for me. I'm like, "Hey, man, can I help?" He was like, "No, man, we got it. You did it. You're good. I promise." So, and then I always say that I ran a half marathon to get my job because at that point, Brent couldn't tell me no.
Mm-hmm, 100%. And what did it feel like so like you woke up that morning thinking probably, "I'm just going to help out." Right. And then you actually run this half marathon.
All right, I'm going to be done like 10 o'clock. Like I can go home and grab some early lunch, then go to work that afternoon.
So you were like literally immersed in the mission, right?
100%.
Going through that. And at the end, what was that like for you to experience the race, the mission? And yeah, tell us about that.
I think it was just the overwhelming part of just seeing that many bodies out there wanting the same thing. Because that event, I mean, that year, I think we had 45 individuals in wheelchairs participating. So this past year and this past February, we had 64. So we've gone back to that pre-COVID growth of participation. But I think just seeing that many people just wanting to be inclusive and giving somebody an opportunity that otherwise would not be having that opportunity, would not be out in the rain and being able to participate that morning, or being able to do things that they didn't think were possible for them. And so giving them that opportunity and that hope.
Very cool. So talk to us about the ambassador program, the rise and success of your peer fundraisers.
Yeah.
Walk us through.
So our ambassador program, the way it was started, originally was called the KPF Race Team. And so these are your big time runners, big time triathletes that believe in the mission and want to support it and want to move it forward. That want to come and either do all the races or want to get the word out. So we have ambassadors. We have had not as much this year. In years past, we've had some that are in Utah. We've had one lady that lives in Louisiana, Florida, all kinds of places all over the country that either find us on social media and say, I want to get involved, but I can't really come and participate as much. How do I plant the flag here in my local area? And so the ambassador program essentially is they have a fundraising minimum. They meet, and there are a certain amount of stipulations and things that they get from that. Whether like we provide them a triathlon outfit that they get from one of our brands called Own Way Apparel. That they help support us and get all of our triathlon gear ready to go every year. So we have our marketing and branding team that kind of creates those every year. That's a little bit different. So that way that everybody feels like if they come back, then they get something new, or there's a reason for them to come back and feel like they're being supported there. And they don't have to fundraise for some of the other fundraising events like the Publix Atlanta Half Marathon that's kind of included in their fundraising. So they get to participate in the biggest event of the year, even if they're coming in from out of town. Most of our ambassadors either know somebody that lives here in Atlanta that will be able to stay, or we can figure out in terms of accommodations when they come in from out of town as well, and just things like that. So it's become more of a community based, like they go and train together, like they'll go ride the Silver Comet out on the west side of town, or they'll go ride the Gaps up in North Georgia. Most of our people that are in the ambassador program are pretty decent or big time triathletes. That's kind of the main focus for that group is they also come and participate in one of the triathlon events that we do that's out in Carrollton at John Tanner State Park through the Try the Park series that we do. So that way that people that see Brent and Kyle that do triathlons, they want to try it out and they want to see it.
Yeah.
So that's like our entryway for those that want to do triathlons, Ironmans, and things like that.
Fundraising success in an election year requires you to break through the noise on and offline. If you're ready to step into a bold mindset so you can create big, impactful results, I can help. I will show you how to embrace daring asks and ditch last year's playbook. Go to splendidcourses.com/free to sign up for my live training on August 20th at 12 p.m. Eastern. You'll also get early access to join my group coaching program, The Club, when you sign up for this class. So a couple of things here that I want to touch on. One is you've used the word community and you've also talked about community through this. It's like, oh, well, they'll train together. Oh, well, they'll come here. And if they're not from Atlanta for this, we can make sure they have a place to stay. Those are all like huge community building little pieces. And even just that they're getting like the tri kit each time. So they're even getting that like, I'm with them brand, right? That reciprocity. And I would imagine almost this like recruiting happens through that, or referral happens through that, where it's like, before you know it, so-and-so has recruited like 3 more people because they were just talking about it. Come train with us. Come be a part of that. So is that what you're seeing? Because that's, as you're talking, that's what I'm like imagining in my mind.
100%. So you get a lot of people that find the group, and the community part, we're still working out a lot of the kinks and trying to be open and give people opportunities to, whether if they're more focused on the volunteering and coming and running with us, that's great. Or if they're more on focusing on planting the flag at bigger events for themselves, that's also great. So it's getting the name out one way or the other. And so trying to build both sides of that community so that it's all kind of encompassing together is something that we're still working out. We don't have it all figured out yet. But as we're continuing to grow, the community is definitely building. I would say another good partnership for us to help recruit is also through the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. A lot of our athletes are in that 8 to 21-year-old range, so they're still able to go to Children's Healthcare and get services and be seen by doctors. And so doctors or PTs or OTs or nurses, say, oh, have you heard about the Kyle Pease Foundation? I've run with them at Publix, or I've done this, or I've done that, like with them. Like this would be good for your kid to participate. So it's a big recruiting part, being in partnership with Children's Healthcare.
Okay. Partnerships, partnerships, partnerships. So I'm just going to underscore that for everybody listening. That is the power of partnerships. There is just to have, like you said, a doctor, a physical therapist, somebody who is the middle person between, right? To say, do you know about this organization? So developing those partnerships is essential to scaling. So I love that you said that. Yes. I want to talk a bit about retention. So retention in two ways. Let's talk about retention first within your ambassadors. So how do we keep people happy and coming back and not one and done?
Yeah, that's a challenge that we're working through right now, as we're trying to build that opportunity to find different things for them to feel like either their money that they're paying for or the time that they're spending is worth it for them. And so they obviously know at the end of the day the mission is for the individuals in the wheel in chair. So like the end of the day, that's the main focus, but also they need to feel like they're getting something out of it too. And so providing them opportunities for community building themselves, like we'll have figure out a happy hour situation on Publix weekend, because the event's on Sunday. We'll do a dinner on Saturday night. So like a Friday evening, we'll try to do a happy hour with the ambassador program participants. And so that way that they're building together, they're working together, they're hanging out. And so everybody's work schedule in life is also very crazy, as you can imagine. A triathlete's life is kind of all over the place, trying to get everything together. So trying to build that community and try to communicate is a challenge, but it's something that we're working through and figuring it out as we go. There's definitely some points where we've done very well with, like I said, the happy hours and trying to do bike rides and trying to do things like that, whether it's physical activity or not. We also have an end-of-year athlete celebration that the ambassador program kind of puts on for our in-chair athletes and their families. And so that's kind of part of that team building, that they feel like they're doing something more as well. So they want to be more involved. They want to do this. They want to do that. Like they give us suggestions because they want to be involved and they want to do things. So we try to make it happen as best as we can with the budgets that we have. But we're definitely open to hearing and growing as we learn from them as well, because they definitely give us feedback when we need it.
I love it. I love it. I love that that's also top of mind, is that you're keenly aware of how do we build off of the people in our community today and tomorrow, and what are those next steps. As far as retention goes, because right now I can you have so many peer fundraisers going right now. So just so other people can get a sense of it, I poked around, I did some detective work. I went onto your fundraising tools page, and there's lots of peer fundraisers going on for different events, which just makes my heart happy, because I love that you're not saying, how do we fundraise alone? How do I, you're not dialing for dollars, right? So we're spreading out with it, with influence and advocates and ambassadors. Now, inevitably, with these peer fundraisers, we have a lot of donations that come in from all sorts of places, from people's friends, family, coworkers, aunts, friends of friends. What is retention? What is your retention plan? How does that look for those newbies that come in your world?
Yeah, I think it's just showing them where their money's going. I think the biggest thing that we've seen in recent donorship and participation is people want to see what the impact is. People want to see impact. They don't want to just hear about it. They want to see it. And so trying to show them, everybody's on the social media stuff. So everybody wants to see the videos. Everybody wants to see it. And some people want to see the numbers. And it's also based on your demographics, age range, all that stuff that everybody needs to know in terms of our development side on the back end. We need to know, all right, well, we've got an individual from North Carolina that doesn't come to any events, but he donates $1,000 a year. Why? So we figure out, all right, well, he donates to this one person that's his nephew or niece or something like that. There's a lot of those that we have that donate based on a person. And so that's part of the thing that we figured out is if we can keep people happy, we can figure out how to continually get them involved and potentially grow their involvement as well, whether it's not just financial, but it's also volunteering, coming and getting a business involved, getting their partner that they went to college with that owns a law firm in Atlanta, or if they know somebody that owns a restaurant chain that's in Alabama or something that can donate their time or their product or whatever. It's things like that we're continuously trying to figure out and grow on the retention side. It's an ebb and flow. It depends on the year. Bigger years that we have, we do have higher retention. And sometimes we have a lot of drop off on some years just based on the events that we have. One event that we do have based off of this year was our first year going was the Walt Disney World Marathon weekend down in Orlando. So this was the first year we were a charity partner. That is something that the numbers are not necessarily going to change. The individuals will probably change just based on Disney's just a hard ticket to get. So the people that we get just kind of changes just based on who finds us online.
I got
a lot of those bigger events like that, like whether it's Boston or New York or Walt Disney World, like some of those bigger, longer distances are kind of they ebb and flow.
This is an interesting kind of, it's almost like you have to forecast it out of like, we may see lower retention numbers with some of these bigger named events. And I'm like, oh my gosh, all day, every day, do those because it's such a great piece for visibility overall for your brand, for endorsement to say, you know what, we were a partner with Walt Disney World. We were a partner here. It helps you get into more rooms. And so it's strategic is what I'm saying, even though the cost may be a little bit lower on like the retention numbers that you like to see. Yeah. Am I on?
Yeah.
Am I?
Yeah, you're right on the ball. Right on the ball.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. So I love what we're talking about with retention. I want to talk a little bit more about future focus. So like, what's next? We're at the time of recording, we're not quite in the trenches of year-end fundraising. Like, what does year-end look like for you? And then like, what's next? Cast a vision for us.
This next 6 months are huge for us. We have a huge campaign, like I mentioned earlier about Brent and Kyle going back to Kona, Hawaii. We have a huge capital campaign going on right now for the Inclusive Employment Program that was started about 4 or 5 years ago. That provides opportunities of jobs for the inclusive employees, which is an individual with disabilities. That can range from somebody that has intellectual disabilities, physical, or both. And so these jobs that work within the Kyle Pease Foundation I have one individual that works with me in the operations department. We have one that works in donorship. We have one that works in marketing. We have one in athlete recruitment and retention. And then we also have Kyle that leads that kind of program. And then this year was the first year we branched out to another job or another individual company called Fire Protection Services here in Atlanta and state of Georgia that hired an inclusive employee through the Kyle Pease Foundation. And that's kind of where we've seen growth, as well as everybody needs something to do once they finish school. Like we've seen a lot of individuals that finish schooling and things like that. There's not a lot for them. Like they lose a lot of services when they're out of school. So trying to find them a job is definitely something very important for them. It's also meaningful work to get them something where they see the passion, they see that it's important for them because it's something that has changed their life. So it's continually changing somebody else's as well.
We have a lot of organizations, a lot of consultants, and just community members who listen to the podcast that either serve adults with intellectual or physical disabilities. And it drops off a cliff what you have accessibility to after that, school age. Yeah. And so I love that this is something you're putting front and center as a program. I want to understand it a little bit more. Is the program like placement? Like, what does the program do? Is it helping them find a job, or is it more like skill building? Or
it's skill building, and it's currently placing within the Kyle Pease Foundation as we have at the moment. As we continue to build it out, I think the way that we're moving forward is placement within other companies, like I said, with Fire Protection Services, which is a good friend of ours within the foundation, Adam Heiser. So that is one individual he took the deep dive with Brent and us. To be like, hey, I want to do something that means something. I want to do something that is going to change somebody's life. And so Josh Porter, which is the individual that works with Adam over at Fire Protection Services, started back in end of January, beginning of February. So a little over 6 months, give or take, or right around there when he's been there. So that's something that's seen him. You can see the growth that he's gotten for either more confidence, the ability to get out because he lives in inner city Atlanta and having to go work in Marietta. So things like that. So like being able to just travel, but get out of your local community and also seeing the world a little bit differently than yours is something that we try to provide as well.
I love it. I mean, it is something, and I'm seeing whether it's a for-profit or nonprofit, there are these opportunities of just like, oh, we need more of this. We need more of that for sure. So I love that you're investing in that and putting that program forward. All right. So that's big for year end. It sounds like
huge. It's huge.
And tell us like what else, like what's on for next year. You said Kona, Hawaii. That's happening this year though. Yeah.
So that's October. So it's right before Halloween. Ironman World Championships. For those that are listening that are not Ironman triathletes, that is a 2.4 mile swim. That's a 112-mile bike and a marathon run to cap it off.
Amazing. So cool. So I follow Jesse Itzler. I feel like you probably know him.
I met him actually not too long ago.
He's Mr. Sarah Blakely, I often say to my audience. So he's just so funny, and he's just tell it like it is. And I feel like he wakes up every day naturally with like 10 pots of coffee. So he's very high energy.
He is the Energizer Bunny.
Yes. But I have watched him compete, and it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating to watch him compete in all these different crazy races. So I mean, that's so cool.
It's awesome. Yeah. The event I did that he's part co-founder of is 29029.
Okay. That's his. Okay. Yeah. Got it. Yeah. Tell us about that event, because that was cool.
Yeah. It was definitely the most physically and mentally challenging event I've ever done in my endurance career, which is very short, but that's definitely something that was very interesting to train for, to figure out mentally, and to actually go do it. Did it in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which is, if you've never been, would highly recommend it. I understand why the cost of living is so outrageous out there now, because everybody wants to live out there. It's beautiful.
Gorgeous, yeah.
So it was a great time. It was 19 ascents up the Snow King Mountain in 36 hours, which is a 1.1 mile hike. So it was.
And so this is the version, everyone, that my neighbor did, but he did it in Vermont
Vermont, I believe so. Okay. Yeah.
And so you're just huffing it up a mountain and down, and huffing it up a mountain. I'm going to say it in layman's terms.
Yeah, so huffing it up and down. And you take the ski lift down. So you're not having to hike down, which is nice. But
I think it was like pouring rain. It was really rough conditions.
Yeah, it was.
And gross. Different from what we've been talking about. So he wasn't involved in working with one of your athletes who is a wheelchair user, but he was fundraising for this. So like, this is another example of like fundraising in the wild, where maybe you're doing some other event or competition or something like that, and you and your team, he fundraised. I think he did a 20K or something like that.
So Brent is the head coach. He's one of the main coaches for 29029, which created the opportunity for us to be kind of input as hey, we've got a certain amount of entries that we can allot for the Kyle Pease Foundation. So y'all can sell those at whatever the fundraising number you want to set for. These are the costs that we have for it, and this is what the Kyle Pease Foundation would pay for. This year in itself, this event, all across all of the events, is going to raise about $300,000 for the foundation. So we're sitting at about 225, 250 right now. So we're on the home stretch for that. So it's looking good. So big numbers coming forward for sure.
What would you say to another organization or even a board member or somebody listening who's like, I want to do what they're doing? How do we break into this style of ambassador fundraising where maybe it is physically event driven, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's just something else, because you, again, have really cracked the code of getting people involved. It's still mission forward, and yet they get to do something for your mission, where it's, physical or
I think what you need to do first off is figure out what you're trying to accomplish. You need to know what the goal is, whether it's, all right, we need to raise $5,000 and we need to do it by next week, or whatever you need to do. Figure out a game plan of, all right, well, we've got this amount we've got to get to by the end of the year. We've got an idea for an event, whether it's Plywood does a big auction. There's different things like that. You can get board members, you can get big fundraisers or big funders that can donate their time, their services, their businesses' services things like that, and you can auction it off. That's what Plywood I've seen has done. There's other opportunities if you can get in with these major races and things like that. That's a very popular opportunity. Local 5K, 10K stuff that you can see, and especially in Atlanta, that happens every other weekend or more. That there's a local 5K supporting some fundraiser, somebody, something for the most part. So different things like that, and just finding what your group is looking for. And so it doesn't always have to be event based. That's a great opportunity and a segue to get people involved. But that's not the only way. I've worked with some people through, like you mentioned, we met at Plywood Place through the Chick-fil-A cohort program. And so with that, there was one individual, she does focused on artwork. And so they do an art show. And so they sell the artwork from the kids that within their program that they serve. So to help fund what they do, different things like that. So it just depends on what the group does, what they're trying to accomplish, and just kind of where they're kind of going.
Really smart.
Make that game plan, make that kind of path to where you see yourself going, and just be prepared that it's not going to go the way that you plan.
Wait, what?
Exactly. Yeah. You would think, oh, plan's foolproof. Like it's going to be perfect. No, I've worked in events long enough that nothing goes perfectly. You have to be able to pivot. You have to be able to figure out where the opportunities that you can pivot or you may need to within your planning. So just things like that.
So you heard it here, $1 million plus organization. Success is not a straight line, especially when you're doing events. So let it be imperfect is what I'm hearing. I'm also hearing that you want to meet people where they are. So don't make a bunch of artists who aren't really into marathons run a marathon, right? Have an art show. Think really understanding what your goal is. So that is really, really important. I'm glad that you said that piece. Yeah, so good. Anything else that you wanted to share before we wrap up?
I think just if anybody wants to get and participate with us, we'd love to have you. And you don't have to be an athlete. You do not have to run sub 30-minute 5Ks to come participate with us. Anybody that wants to come help out, and you don't have to be a runner. We take volunteers to come help unload the truck and get my team going on the logistics side. So if you ever want to participate, we'd love to have anybody.
I love that. Yes. And thank you for saying that. As somebody who's a very happy run walker, that's good to hear. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, there's a place for everybody.
Exactly.
And I can tell in just an understanding and knowing your organization, if you're like, I'm new to, this inclusivity space, but I'm curious and I want to get involved. Like, this is the place. This is a great entry point. Yeah. Awesome. Well, we ask everybody on the podcast to share what is one thought that you like to think on purpose. So for me, it's just a guidepost, a mantra, an affirmation. Would you share yours with our audience?
Yeah, I think something that kind of going back to the event I was talking about that I had in Jackson Hole was this mountain does not define me, and neither does the finish. And so it's going beyond that. And so kind of when I was going through those mental strains of, hey, I've got 6 more hikes to do in this amount of time frame. I need to keep moving. I need to get going. I need to drink water. I need to drink electrolytes. I need to eat. I need to sit down. I need to do this. And I went back to, hey, this mountain does not define me. Neither does the finish. And so I got to the finish. It doesn't define me because there's so much more that I found within myself through that event and through that challenge. And I would advise others to say that you're more capable than you actually think you are. You can go farther. You can do more. You can find that extra oomph. You can find it. You have to be willing to dig deep. And that's kind of part of what I would say is one of my most recent mantras.
Zach, I love it. It's perfect. It's really a pillar of what we talk about on the podcast, which is it's not the destination, right? You want to enjoy the journey. And so it's like, that's the piece, right? And just that positive self-talk, we didn't even get into that too much today, but we talk a lot about mindset, and you cannot do any of this if you're not talking yourself through it, right? Of like going, how many times up and down that mountain was it?
It was 19.
Oh boy. Like that self-talk cannot sound like this is hard, this is impossible, this is like, right? That self-talk is, you just gave us a little bit of a taste of it. So thank you for that.
Of course.
All right. Where can everyone follow, get involved with your organization? Tell us all.
Yeah, I think best places, we're on all social medias, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. The Kyle Pease Foundation, just search us up. You can find us at thekylepeasefoundation.org as well. We have all kinds of things for you to get participated in. If you want to hang out, we'd love to have you. Set up a call. I'd love to talk to you as well.
Yeah, give them a follow on Instagram because you were talking about social proof earlier. And yeah, your videos are great and your content is excellent. And no wonder that community is right there. Thank you for coming on today. This was such a great conversation.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Hey, high achiever. I know your sights are set on ambitious, world-changing goals. In the Purpose and Profit Club group coaching program, you can get the support, motivation, and strategy to accelerate your impact. I like to say it's where the inner work meets big impact and big funding. Go to splendidcourses.com/waitlist and you will be first to be notified when we open up doors, and you'll get special bonuses when you join our waitlist. See you inside.